Yeah.
This one they say is Hal Gill.
This is one buttock.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was over there. And this is a forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can
And
definitely see
it's
it. Yeah.
reaching over here.
Leaning on it.
And then
those are
the
two
heels
heels.
moved around. One really good heel print. What that particular thing there is, I've never heard anybody try to explain.
So the elbow would be
He'd be laying like,
right here.
like
Is
like that.
This
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
print is of a
Pushing,
dog.
A
balancing.
coyote went
Coyote.
through, and also an elk. And Dr. Fish started to go through and then realized he was stepping on something.
take a couple.
Probably got a few miles on this, don't you? Carrying this around everywhere.
No, I don't.
No?
It's made for that, but I haven't had much occasion to take it anyway. And this, of course, is not Skookum cast, is the opposite of this. This is
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's probably easier to visualize it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the cast, every one of these looks like a crest on a lizard or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's very hard to interpret. But that's what they actually came upon.
awesome.
And making that copy, when you think of all the interlocking shapes there are there,
Mm-hmm.
it's quite an achievement. Rick Knoll, one of the three people that found it, and Rick was the one who actually cast it. He has one of these in one piece, and he also has a fiberglass copy of the cast itself. He doesn't want to take the original on the road.
No. Yeah. Who would?
But since Dr. Fish died, there's nobody really to take it on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been a very good arrangement. He was retired and he was a PhD zoologist, and he was one of the ones that found it, so that would have been ideal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. You might notice some upside down lettering in corners.
Yeah.
Because those were made in the plaster.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be the thigh there.
Put the button closed over here.
But then the back. Sitting down and pushing with its heel. And there was
So
quite
the
a bit of ridicule of the idea that anything would sit down to eat and make all those heel prints.
Mhm.
Reach into the
And Rick Knoll,
pile
who
of food.
Yeah.
was one of the people that made the cast, also went to the Seattle Zoo to get some gorilla footage for Doug Hychek, the documentary producer who made Legends Meet Science, and got some footage of a gorilla sitting down and reaching across to pick stuff up to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and when it wanted to move, it pushed itself around with its heel.
Oh,
So would this be the Achilles tendon here?
That's right. It's either that or it's the lower front leg of an elk, if you could say that.
Yeah, that's a neat trick.
So how far out was the bait or the
I
food
don't know
here?
exactly, but it was over in this area. And of course, when they were doing this, I mean, this is all they were able to cast, but they saw quite a bit more.
Well, they'd put the bait in the middle of the big muddy area.
Well, not in the middle.
Well, not
There's a big area almost beside the road, and this is right by the road. But this is the last spot that was still damp. The rest of it was 100% hard. taken the U.S. cavalry over it and not left any print.
Yeah.
Looks like it scooted back. This is almost about the same shape as that. And you see how it looks
yeah,
like the
that's
hair
the-
smears go this way, like maybe it scooted back, and this mud looks like it's pushed back. Not like something really pushed down, and it looks like
Yeah,
it
it's-
scooted back.
Before it stood up, maybe?
Yeah, like maybe that's...
I don't have any idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It obviously did something.
Yeah. Yeah, unless you're there to see it happen.
And of course these cracks are because the mud was still drying.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have left a nice handprint instead of mucking things.
And were there any footprints
No,
around it at all?
No, everything else was too dry, eh?
yeah. And that's why they didn't know what they were dealing with and why one of them actually even stepped in it.
Yeah.
Is there any dermal ridges in that heel print there?
Pardon?
Is there any dermal ridges in the heel print?
That's been said, but I wouldn't,
No?
I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
Can
we tell if it's male or female?
don't know how old it is. Yeah, actually, there's an argument that this scrotum shows up,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't.
Yeah. Things like this are so open to interpretation.
But something did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a heel that belongs to an enormous higher print.
So who was the primatologist who came to that conclusion? But
His name was Darius Swindler, and he's the author of an Atlas of Comparative Anatomy of Humans, Chimpanzees, and one of the larger monkey types, which is, I understand, a pretty standard text in universities.
okay.
And he was at the Primate Center in Seattle the latter part of his career. I've known him since the 70s. And he was always friendly, but as I say, he was occasionally to be seen in documentaries
Mm-hmm.
poo-pooing the whole
As the skeptic, yeah.
So I insisted on making a copy of that, and he was retired, still living in the Seattle area, giving it to him, and if he had it for a while, that was his verdict.
Mm-hmm.
And being retired, he was able to say so.
Yeah. 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 It's not career suicide when you're retired, so.
I've seen him referred to as a legend, but we know he was real, so
Yeah.
I guess he had a reputation. Unfortunately, he is now also dead. But after sort of tolerating me in a very friendly way for 30 years, after this episode, he gave me what he said was one of the only 2 remaining copies of the first printing of the Atlas, and he wrote in it to John Green, friend and colleague. I'll treasure that.
I bet.
Maybe he writes that in every book.
Very interesting.
And do you people know who George Schaller is?
I don't know.
Well, Jane Goodall is famous among the public, but George Schaller is much more so among fields.
Amongst the colleagues, yeah.
And I think he's partly retired, but he had the title of head of science for the Wildlife Conservation Society, which is what the Bronx Zoo morphed into as political correctness. New York Zoological Society.
Yeah.
And then the Wildlife Conservation Society. And he did the initial study of the mountain gorillas way, way back.
Mm-hmm.
Before Jane Goodall and the chimpanzees,
Before they hit the press.
before
Yeah.
she was even in Africa.
Oh yeah.
And he's still at it, except that he's mostly now supervising other people. And he says that the what you do now and what we should be doing is exactly what you people are doing, getting those cameras out on the game trail.
Mm-hmm.
Says they're learning that known animals are turning up in places where they're not supposed to have been, or
Yeah.
supposed to have been extinct for years, getting more and more information. So I certainly wasn't in a position to take his advice, but I see lots of people in the BFRO are, and that's hopefully will pay off in due course.
Yeah. It's a start.
He was out here. He's got a son who's a professor at the university in Vancouver. His first grandchild arrived in Vancouver. So, yes, he arrived in Vancouver. So Rick brought this up for him to look at, or at least the original cast. These copies didn't exist at that time. And so when I went down there to be in on this, I set it up. I took some footprint casts and originals, and he just walked around them for about 5 minutes, and he said, well, it has to be an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. He's been very, very supportive ever since. I mean, he's not going looking for it.
No. Yeah. But he hasn't ruled it out, which is important.
No, and when I phoned the head of Conservation International, who was the chairman of the International Primate, what do they call him? Primate group, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He spends his time in tropical America. He said, well, I've been thinking for 20 years of getting some of my jungle something or other, I forget exactly what he said, come up here and look for this thing. And he said, it can't, no problem with the money, because I'm the one that decides where it's spent. And they can't say anything about looking for an unknown primate because I've already found several. However, he never did anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Meldrum knows him well. They had offices in the same building at one time.
Oh yeah.
So right up at the top, we've got not quite silent support. The science writer for the Denver Post did a huge article, feature article about the top people, including Jane Goodall, who say this should be taken seriously. And the Associated Press wouldn't carry it, so it never appeared anywhere except in the Denver Post.
Oh yeah.
Now that was a revelation to me. Science has been protecting the public from this heresy for 40 years. And when they start stepping away from the ramparts, the media are stepping up to take their place.
Yeah.
It's absolutely weird.
Why do you think that is?
I couldn't figure it.
Yeah.
Actually, for a long, long time, I've wondered if we've got something imprinted in our genes that we have such a strange reaction to this evidence. It just mustn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not rational.
Yeah.
If, you know, the footprints exist, something makes them.
Yeah.
They're a fact. Another fact is that thousands of people describe seeing a huge upright primate haircut. those two facts, let alone the movie and this and the excavation where Glenn Thomas saw the thing digging in the rock, require an explanation. And either you're dealing, well, this is always the supernatural. Other than that, either you're dealing with a
Well-organized
animal
hoaxers.
that would be about the most interesting there could be, because of its resemblance to, in relationship to ourselves, and because it remained unknown. Or you're dealing with a human conspiracy to manufacture evidence for an animal that doesn't exist, which you can trace back for centuries and all over the world. So, if you're a major institution with all branches of science represented, if you put a team together and get to the bottom of this, one side or the other is a blockbuster accomplishment. And not $1 and not an hour
Yeah.
available to do it. And the things they are doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this is why, as I say, I can't help but wonder if we're hardwired that
To
we can't
to
handle
deny it. Yeah.
Maybe they're too similar to us.
Well, that's what scares people, right? Is yeah, it's got thumbs and it walks upright and it speaks.
I don't know if
I don't know about
Well,
speaking.
well, I don't know
I
about
have
speak,
a
but you
trouble
know,
with that.
just the fact that it utters a noise and
Well, I'm sure it communicates with noise. People take it as far as a language.
that remains to be seen.
I'm a skeptic. Well, it took us millions of years
To evolve.
to evolve into a creature that depends entirely on its brain.
And battery.
And this thing obviously is in command of the situation with its muscles. So there's no way that it followed that type of development. To me, it just doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
It's not just muscle though, because it has to have some kind of brain in order to avoid contact or
How much is it avoiding it? How much
Yeah.
of it is just that we suppress it? Like I used to talk to big groups, and the first question always was, if these things are there, how come nobody ever sees one? And you've just been talking for 40 minutes about
Can I get you a chair, by the way?
No, that's
Just
fine.
your phone? Okay.
One of the more recent witnesses, and probably some of you are familiar with it, but BFRO has changed a great deal since this came up, was a full professor of psychology at the University of Southern California. Anybody know about this one?
Yeah, a little familiar with that.
Yeah.
With his family.
He was out hunting wild pig in a military reserve in California, in a stand, waiting for a pig to come along. And before he ever saw a wild pig, one of these things came along.
More than one.
And he reported it to the BFRO in such detail that when they saw the email address ending in edu, they thought, oh, ho, just another college kid with a prank.
Yeah.
And he had to really persevere to get anybody paying
To
attention.
take them serious.
Yeah.
And he saw more than one at that time.
No, just one.
He saw one.
Was this on Camp Pendleton?
It sounds
Southern
familiar. It's a
California?
double-barreled name. My memory is I'm over 80 and
Yeah.
pretty much
Oh, you're
gone.
doing pretty
Yeah.
good.
But I had seen quite a bit of. Whether I ever phoned him or not, but anyway, we were in contact for some time. He just saw one, saw it, but he watched it. He didn't know he was there, and he had a wealth of detail. Ironically, later on, he did get to see a wild pig and he shot it. And decided that wasn't really something that he wanted to do anymore. So it's a good thing he got the Sasquatch sighting.
Now, did this guy go on to study Sasquatch more?
Tell you what he did do. He got himself on the committee that vets his proposals for honorary degrees. Trying to get one for me. Of course, I said the pigs will fly first.
In which case he doesn't need a
And that-
gun, he needs
and
a
then I
net.
just figured out, and I haven't heard from him for quite a while. That was after he'd read my fat book.
Mm-hmm.
Said some very nice things about it.
Did you ever meet Dr. Johnston or Johnson that was down at Cave
No, I
Junction?
never did.
That was quite a sighting also.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I know that area very well.
What
I
area is
don't,
that?
even
Cave
by that
Junction,
time I wasn't
Oregon.
doing much traveling. That's at the Ape Cave area in southern Oregon. No, not the Ape Cave, sorry, what do you call it cave?
Ape Canyon?
No,
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 but
that's
not Ape
Washington
Canyon.
State.
That's,
No,
no,
no.
that's in Washington.
Gosh, now I just said it and now I can't remember
Oh, I
what
guess
it
it's
was.
just the Oregon Cave.
Oregon Caves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a gift shop there at the National Park. When I was in the era when I was financing myself, peddling books, I used to go there.
No, it's Oregon Caves. Yes, down Cave Junction, Oregon.
It's
Down near
near,
the-
Grants Pass.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right on the border almost then.
On the way to
Yeah,
California.
Yeah.
very close to the border.
Okay.
Not that far as the crow flies from Bluff Creek.
Oh, geez, I drove up by it.
No, in fact, I found out later there is a road that takes you from just below the Oregon Caves, or it might be just above there at Selma, I can't remember, and you can go all the way over to Happy Camp.
Yes, I've driven that quite often.
Is that right?
Yeah, the druggist in Happy Camp didn't pay for a bunch of books. I tended to go that way if it was. Never got the money either.
That works. Well, for our studies, what do you have as suggestions or thoughts about where we should go or how we should go?
You mean right here?
In general.
Well, my one general advice to people is distant fields aren't greener.
Look where you live.
Spend your time where you can spend your time and not traveling around. You know. Hey, I mean, if you live in the middle of the continent and there are any reports, that wouldn't apply. For instance, Bob Morgan used to come all the way from Florida to Washington. Prospects were probably better in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything going on, report it around somewhere where you can readily get to. That's certainly a logical thing to stick to.
It seems to be the way sort of Thomas Steenberg has adapted his thought is just to pick an area. Same thing Rick Knowles suggested is just, find someplace local and work it and work it and work it.
Yeah, and of course that's what Bill Miller's doing here.
Yeah.
After having a sighting away back east.
Do you think our society's ready for a discovery like this?
I don't know. And it's going to upset some people.
I mean,
I don't think it'll
most-
have
Most everyone
I think
thinks
it'll be within a year or so, it'll just be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't it?
it seems like so many people believe that we already have all the answers. And this is
Yeah,
like,
but then they'll know that we have one more.
Yeah.
right,
Those are the people that don't realize that science is provisional,
right.
right?
I mean, I can see it upsetting some religious beliefs, but maybe no.
But then the money will flow once the discovery is final or for sure.
Oh yeah, and all the amateurs can go home.
Mm-hmm. Say our job has been done.
Yeah. Yeah, to that extent, we should be thankful the scientists won't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would put us out of a hobby.
There you go.
What's
That's
that?
true.
The scientists that are going to come to us that have been out here to find out how to go about what they're doing.
Maybe. Wouldn't bet on it.
I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it either.
if they go out on their own, they're just going to be starting all over from scratch. And maybe what they can read in the books.
But they have their scientific method that they want to,
Use.
we start from this point.
Yeah.
I don't care where you started.
And they want to
This is-
publish their own articles.
Right.
That's right. And there's no point in spreading the glory.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't predict that.
Yeah.
And they like doing things over and over again anyways.
Repeat themselves.
Oh, the other thing I brought along, what did it get to?
It's on the table here.
This is from the Gigantopithecus jawbone.
Oh.
And Grover Krantz, starting with the jawbone, built up what he thought the rest of it would be like. Sit on here. Now, this is the part that exists. There's 4 of these jawbones been found, and this is the biggest one.
Where were they all? Were they found in China?
3 of them in China, 1 in India.
And then it gets moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your head down there.
Yeah, we need a reference point.
Look at the size of his head.
Look at that doll simian look in his eye.
Not a big enough
Oh, obvious intelligence.
Darcy, can you let out a howl for us?
You really want that?
I don't like his. His is too angry sounding.
A little more to the left. Little owl, come on, Darcy.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's not quite going to work.
To put them there.
There we go.
There's
Must be a professor.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't the smart one. We got found, didn't he?
Well, Grover was certainly qualified to do such
A cast.
not necessarily right, but
Yeah.
right up his alley.
It's almost got like a friendly face.
oh, he looks happy.
So was Grover able to sort of project a weight based on say that skull?
I don't recall that he did.
Yeah.
But, in my opinion, all the weight estimates are low.
Mm-hmm.
The realistic one, in my opinion, is unbelievable.
Yeah. As if the creature alone isn't unbelievable enough for people, then yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got some casts over here. We get something like that sunk in an inch, and you're not even marking it.
Yeah, you're not even, yeah,
Full boot
you're
print.
scuffing the ground, that's it.
That isn't 500 pounds, that isn't 1,000.
Pounds, it's 15 to 2, right?
I have no idea how
Yeah,
much,
but
an
it's,
awful lot.
yeah.
And that's what got me hooked on this. I was fortunate. I've only been involved about a year with the Sasquatch stuff around here.
Mm-hmm.
When Jerry Crew made the cast at Bluff Creek and Bigfoot hit the...
That's where I saw that picture of you with your white shepherd.
Oh, that's 9 years later.
Oh, was it? Yeah. I have a bias. I had a white shepherd for years, and I thought, oh, perfect.
So anyway, I'd gotten enough interested when I saw a picture of Jerry holding this cast. My wife and I and another fellow, we just got in the car and went down there to see what it was all about. And, while there, the closest thing to a scientist had been mentioned was Bob Titmus, who was a taxidermist.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and looked him up, and then 3 weeks later I got a letter from him saying that he and another man had found a different track. So I went down there again, and that's when on the sandbar in Bluff Creek, Bob had cast the 4 best tracks, but there were still some there, and they went off into gravel. And so I'm walking around, and the casts exist, and then at the deepest point they went back, the heel and so on. And I noticed that although I'm making a complete heel print with my boot, we didn't have these cleated boots in those days.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a complete print of the sole.